Hey folks, this is Matt once again, and welcome back to another review, this time of the film FX. Once again, thanks to a very nice guy who sent this to me, DMC. This is a film from 1986 that I've always enjoyed. I always thought it was a good one because it has an interesting, intriguing idea, and I thought it was very well told. And I like both films. I like this one and I like the sequel, and I'll review the sequel after this. But this one's directed by Robert Mandel, which there's actually an interview with him. And if you're wondering for features, it's not much. It's a trailer. You have about a 14-minute featurette from back in the day. It was cool to see some on-set footage from back in the day. As well as a new 14-minute interview with the director, which isn't much, just pretty much how he got the job, how he had made a smaller film, more of a drama called Independence Day before this. Not Independence Day that we know, but before that, a film called Independence Day. And how he didn't know anything about action, and he didn't know much about, but the company's like, no, we know that. You'll pick it up, but we want someone who knows suspense and tension and characters. And tells about how he liked working with the actors. Now he's worked with Brian Dennehy many times after this. I mean, it's not much to run home about. It would have been nice to see interviews with Bryan Brown, Brian Dennehy, but what can you do? And even the inside is pretty plain. But I liked it. I mean, the DVD itself was sort of a flipper disc, and they'll stretch easily, and there's definitely better picture quality than that. So I'm glad to have this because the film looks much better on this. Plus, I like this cover. It's simple, but I know I got good reviews when this came out, but someone was saying, oh, maybe it would have been a bigger hit if it wasn't for the title because people didn't know what the title meant. And I'm like, really? But I don't know, maybe at the time FX was not as known as they are today. I mean, maybe they knew of Tom Savini or something, but this is one of those early films that was about a makeup effects guy. A makeup effects guy was the main character of a movie. And that's what I found interesting about this film. That's what I found intriguing about this flick. Bryan Brown plays this character where, let's see, what was the character's name? I believe was Rollie. Rollie, I like the way it opens where it's in this restaurant and people get shot and the guy's on fire and this woman gets shot up and you're like, what the hell's going on? And then you realize it's just a movie. And this movie kind of plays off what is real, what is illusion, what is real, what is fake, and I like that. That's why I like these FX movies. I never saw the TV show, but I like these movies for doing that kind of stuff. And just the idea that the main guy's an effects guy is such a cool idea. And I remember they were thinking of remaking this, and I'm like, why? Effects are not how they are nowadays. What, he's going to have a laptop computer with him to CGI some shit? There are no practical effects anymore. So the fact they wanted to remake this a few years ago was baffling. Again, I'm sorry, but people don't do practical effects. Yeah, he's going to have a green screen, CGI some shit. Get away from the bad guys. But I thought Bryan Brown did a good job as Rollie. He has this big monster he made at his front door to scare off burglars. He has posters of Zombie, Lucio Fulci's Zombie, and Fade to Black, and all effects of all these creatures he had done around his place. And one day, this guy, Cliff DeYoung, who I liked as an actor, approaches him, says he's with the government, and he wants him to do a job for the Justice Department. One thing I gotta say, because I noticed this, is when Cliff DeYoung's in Bryan Brown's apartment and is pointing at stuff, he points at the baby from It's Alive. It's a picture of the baby from It's Alive. And he goes, Rockadie baby. Ah, yeah. which is weird because I believe there is a movie called Rock to Die Baby. So I'm like, did they make up that film and they didn't realize they made up that? I don't know when that film came out, Rock to Die Baby, if that was out before or after this, or they didn't know it was. It's just one of those weird things where I know that's It's Alive Baby. Anyone who knows horror films knows that's It's Alive Baby. That's not Rock to Die Baby, but it's just weird that they have posters or real films like Fade to Black and Zombie, but they can't say It's Alive. They just go make up a name. It's a little teeny thing, but it's something that I did notice. But either way, Cliff DeYoung offers him a job to fate the death of this mob guy who's going to enter witness protection. And the mob guy is played by Jerry Orbach, who I believe was in Out for Justice with Steven Seagal, and he was in Universal Soldier. He was the doctor that Van Damme and the girl meet up in the third act of the film, and he tells about what happened to Van Damme. That's Jerry Orbach. And just certain little stuff like Bryan Brown showing Cliff DeYoung how squibs work. And he puts squibs on the big monster that he uses to scare off burglars, and what he did do with makeup, and making a mold of Jerry Orbach's face for the assassination, for the hit later on that they're going to fake. In 1986, this was not a common thing. You was not seeing a lot of movies dealing with molds and dealing with squibs and as an actual part of the film. That's what made it interesting. I think makes the film hold up to today. And so Bryan Brown does the hit on Jerry Orbach, but then Cliff DeYoung tries to kill him. And they crash, and I found it funny that they crash into a wall that has a shitload of Rambo 2 and Invasion USA posters. Thought that was kind of cool. And one thing leads to another, and a guy gets killed in a phone booth, and people thought that guy was Bryan Brown. Bryan Brown witnesses this and realizes there's really not many people he can trust. And even the next day, his girlfriend gets killed, which I remember the first time I saw that, I was a little bit surprised by that, because I thought maybe the girlfriend would go to the end of the film or survive, but no, I was a bit surprised by that. Gets in a little kitchen fight with a baddie, the assassin. It's not much of a fight, I'll admit that. I mean, it's not like Van Damme Time Cop. It's not going to be much of a kitchen fight, but it was, for what it was there. And then Brian Dennehy, that's one of the faults I have with the film, is Brian Dennehy, he's like the second build guy, but he doesn't show up until 44, 45 minutes into the film. And even then, it's kind of, he's doing his own separate movie, and Bryan Brown's over here. They only meet up for 2 scenes at the end for like a combined total of 30 seconds. And yet they're the 2 names of the movie. That's kind of weird. Granted, it's unique and it's different. And Brian Dennehy does do a good job. I think that's why one of the reasons why I like the sequel a bit more is because it seemed like Brian Dennehy, it seemed like he had more to actually do, or it seemed like he had more of a relationship with Bryan Brown's character. So it felt like, I don't know if time-wise, but it just felt like they had more stuff to do with each other. Again, I think that's one of the reasons why I like the sequel a bit more. But this is still a very solid film. And pretty much Brian Dennehy is looking into the investigation, realizes there's something up, and this doesn't add up correctly. And Brian Dennehy is a great actor. Bryan Brown trying to get away from the bad guys. He gets his assistant. And the woman who plays his assistant, she's terrible. She has such phony delivery. She's like, Rollie, come on. She's so terrible. Her delivery is so fucking phony. It's as phony as a $3 bill. It's so fucking shitty. But he gets her to get him some supplies, and he makes himself up to look like bums to hide from the bad guys. And there's some cool stuff. For example, when Bryan Brown calls the bad guys, it's like a, what do you call it? Not a phone booth, but it's like a row of phones, and he had put two and tied them together so that he'd call one, which were linked to the other, and then they think, oh my god, he's in the building, but he's not really. So little tricks like that were fun to watch. Grabbing Cliff Dion, putting him in a trunk, and bashing the trunk of the car against other cars to get him to talk. That was a fun little scene. And while he's doing that, Bryan Dennehy is looking into it, and Bryan Dennehy has some fun lines. Like, lady, I don't give a shit if it's tattooed on his ass. I want to know where he lives. And Jerry Orbach finds out, Bryan Dennehy finds out that Jerry Orbach is alive, and he was the mob guy that Bryan Dennehy had took down and arrested, and he finds out, so he definitely knows something is up. And pretty much Bryan Brown using his special effects tricks. That's a big reason why I like the film. I like the idea of a guy who's a special effects guy using the tricks of the trade to get away from the bad guys or trick them or use them to his advantage. Like using little things they use on films, little bombs, as a distraction to steal their effects truck. Or a pretty well done car chase scene where they use these, like, they're not oil, but these big oil-like cans to slick the road, or they throw a fake dummy of a woman, and the cop thinks it's a real woman, and oh my god, oh no, don't run her over! And then he realizes it's a fake dummy, and he gets pissed about it. And then pretty much it leads to the ending where Bryan Brown goes to the bad guy's place, big gates, mansion behind it, while Bryan Dennehy gets suspended, and Bryan Dennehy doesn't really get to do much in the finale. Pretty much he gets there, finds something's up, calls police for backup, is pretty much there waiting on the outside. So that's what I mean. It sucks that Bryan Dennehy he's good in the film. He gives a good performance. He has some fun lines of dialogue, but he doesn't really get to do much. It seems like he got to do more in the sequel. That's, again, one of the reasons why I like the sequel more. But Bryan Brown, I love the tricks he has. He does this thing where he shots the gate to electrocute a guy, where he has this balloon that floats down to someone, and with a remote control blows it up and fucks up a guy. Well, he puts this sort of mirror type thing, and he stands, so the bad guy seems like he's shooting at him, but it's not. He's shooting through a thing, which hits one of his own other bad guys. It's hard to explain, but if you watch it, you know what I'm talking about. It's some nice gag, so he put like a thing here so he can make it create a noise so they go towards it so he can sneak around. Or another fun thing at the beginning where Jerry Orbach is firing a machine gun and Bryan Brown comes out as if he's dead and got blood, and but later on you find out he faked his death in order to get the drop on them. And I thought, wow, that's unique. How many movies are there where you see a guy fake his own death, like he's got blood on him, but no, they were just squibs, and he had worked this window so that when someone presses on it, it fucks them up, and it fucks up Jerry Orbach, who has a pacemaker. And I like the ending where the main last bad guy. Now that I think about it, I'm trying to think, how did Cliff Dion? I think the last time we saw Cliff Dion was, I think, was in the trunk of that car. So now that I think about it, I don't remember how Cliff Dion, what happened to him. Was he still left in the trunk of that car? Was he arrested? I don't remember. So I think that would have been nice if he got some kind of comeuppance, but I don't remember seeing that unless I'm tripping and completely forgot it. But the older bad guy, Mason Adams is his name, he grabs a gun, and Bryan Brown goes, well, there's two things. In one hand, I got the ammo for that gun. In the other, I got crazy glue. Has a lot of uses. At least I found one more usage for it. And so the guy can't get the gun off, so he walks outside and gets shot. And then Rollie faces death by laying down, while he's bloodied. He put like a fake neck around so that when people look at his pulse, they can't feel anything. Go to the morgue, get out of the body bag, but there's Bryan Dennehy, who knows something's going on. At the end, they find the key where the bad guys stash money, and they both drive away together with the money, and that's the end of the film. So, yeah, now that I think about it, it'd be nice if Cliff the Young character got some kind of comeuppance. The assistant lady to Bryan Brown, she's pretty awful. This lady here, she's terrible, very phony. And it would have been nice if Bryan Dennehy had more to do at the end, or even throughout the film, like more actual stuff to do. But it's still a very solid film. It's a good idea. An effects guy doing a fake mob hit who gets framed for murder and using his tricks of the trade of special effects to evade the bad guys and beat the bad guys in R-rated fashion as well. It's not PG or PG-13. It has a good cast, other than that lady, but Bryan Brown, Bryan Dennehy both do a good job. The score is well done. I like the score. I'm trying to see if they have the... Bill Conti. I forgot Bill Conti did the score for this. He did a good job with the score. Bill Conti is definitely a capable, solid composer. It moved at a good pace, wasn't boring. It was a good plot, good story, good leads. And it's just a cool idea. A guy, a special effects guy as the main lead of your movie. That kind of character. And I love that idea. Because I love practical effects. I love the effects and how they're made and what's done with them and how to use them for this reason or this way or that way and all the tricks of the trade. So I thought that was always a cool idea and made for a very solid suspense movie with a little bit of action. When the action's there, it's well done, like the car chase scene. Yeah, very good suspense movie. Thriller, however you want to call it. FX. Really enjoy this film. So thanks for watching, take care, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.